Okay, okay. Good morning, guys. So, how was yesterday? Who liked yesterday? Wow, everybody. I guess the guy who didn't like they left already, So, before we start today, I just want to remind you about two URLs. So first of all, those guys who didn't like yesterday, or otherwise would have some improvement ideas, just go to bit.ly/create 2014 to give your input and feedback and ideas, and maybe we can do it even better next year. Also, I would like to remind you about the panel. So we'll have a panel discussion starting 5 p.m. Actually in this room. So be early over there. We might have seats for everybody, we might not. It's going to be probably the most awesome session of the conference. At least it was in San Francisco, kind of hearing the whole steering committee debating about all the issues and disagreeing about these on stage, and having you asking the most hard questions that you can come up and kind of cornering the whole steering committee. That would be awesome, and that was awesome in San Francisco. Also, I would like to remind you about the agenda. So, who hasn't been using this agenda that looks like exactly like that? Anyone? Shame on you guys. The key over there is that there is voting system, 5 meaning brilliant, 1 meaning get out of here. So I really would like you to vote for all the presentations, because then we can estimate who would be the guys who you would like to listen to next year. So who actually did vote yesterday? Wow, most of the guys, even though the network wasn't working. So today is going to be about ecosystem, and while the yesterday was mostly about the GWT core, now we are speaking more about things around it. And I guess you are asking, what the heck is the GWT ecosystem? And there is one simple answer to that. It's you. So actually, if you look around, there are 400 guys around you, and these guys are the core of the GWT ecosystem. So these are the guys that you can network with today, that you can kind of group and start building something cool for GWT. These are the guys who you can use to actually start presenting about GWT and marketing about GWT. So I think it's really important for you to realize that it's actually you who are driving GWT, and you who are marketing GWT. If you don't realize that, then GWT is not growing. But if you do start marketing GWT around you, then it's gonna be like really, really, really big ecosystem in a few years. And there is a really good kind of basis for this. I am so happy about having like 6,500 guys to turn up on the first year of this conference that is solely focused on GWT. So this is a really strong indication that GWT is going strong. And as you heard from Ray's keynote yesterday, there are around 100,000 SDK users. Those being the users who are compiling each month. So it's not a small number of users, it's not a small ecosystem. Today we have some of the most prominent companies around GWT ecosystem on stage, kind of showing off what they have been doing around GWT, what they're doing at the moment, what's the bleeding edge stuff around GWT that they're doing. But before those, we'll start with this one. So I hope that all of you noticed that we were collecting a lot of input about GWT and the statistic about GWT. And we basically actually opened this up already in San Francisco, but maybe we could call this like European release for the future of GWT report. So please welcome Fredu from our team, who actually did all the work.
Morning. Can you hear me? Excellent. So if we can just get it up there. So how many of you have seen this survey and how many answered the survey? Excellent. Wow, like 80 to 90% of you who are here. So the idea with the survey was that we and the steering committee wanted to know more about you, because as Jonas said, you are the community. And only by knowing how you use GWT, we're able to decide on how to take GWT further as well. So altogether, we had 1,420 respondents, which is, if there's 100,000 users using it monthly, we're talking about 1.5% roughly. Altogether, the survey itself had 40 questions, or more than 40 questions. And these were no small questions at all. They were really open-ended questions, as you probably remember, with, where you could answer really long sentences, and you actually did. I'm not telling you what this number does yet. We had one question, for instance, was can you describe the biggest problems that you are having with GWT today? One of the answers was, please do something to ease the learning curve, do something about compilation time, please allow single JavaScript compiler, please make something about UI widgets, GWT designer should support UI binder features, simplify, simplify, simplify. And this was one answer, one guy's answer to one question only. I mean, that's real dedication and that's real sort of burning for your thing. That wasn't the longest answer, though. The 2,648 characters answer was actually to this question by someone, maybe in this audience even. So what are the most important new features currently missing from GWT? Support for different input-output streams, file API, this is number one, file API, local manipulation, files still exist, files do real. And I mean, it was awesome reading this. In the end, this guy, though, concluded that, whoa, this got way off course. So, but it was really awesome. I mean, reading through all these answers, there were 1,400, and on average, they were about 4,500 characters long, the open-ended questions. And there were like 5 questions, so you can calculate. I can't even do the math now. It's lots and lots of answers, and really dedication by you in the community on what should be done with GWT. Altogether, in the end, we put together a report that was 30 pages long. It's actually printed out and it looks like this. You're all, or the fastest ones will get one after the keynote here. We're handing them out at the registration desk. So you can go and have a look at the data, have a look at the comments from the central people in the GWT committee on the results and so forth. I'm just giving you a quick preview here so you know sort of what's inside the report. 90% of you answered that you feel productive using GWT, which is awesome. The 10% probably aren't in this audience. Then, of course, we wanted to know about demographics. We wanted to know about the teams inside or teams using GWT. And okay, 2.5 people in the front end, 2 people in the back end. Oh no, the other way around. The nice thing, or the surprising thing here, for me at least, was that the project managers still are fewer than the rest of the people. All the projects I've been in had like 5 project managers and 1 coder. And of course, you need a Death Star in every project, I guess. So those are other guys. Then something we did last year was we asked about application size. We asked about different ways to ask about the application size. This year, we decided to only concentrate on a few of the central ones. One of them was compilation time. So compilation time, 3 to 10 minutes on average is the largest group. How many of you actually have over 30-minute compilations? Whoa, I'm sorry for you. And also a negative trend sort of is that last year we had 31% in the 1 to 3 minutes. This year it's only 27 minutes. 27% that are in the 1 to 3 minutes category. Then, of course, browsers, browsers, browsers. So what browsers do you need to support? Who still needs to support IE6 next year? 2 guys. Well, 3. Yeah, I mean, we see sort of a trend there. We have last year's results there. The gray ones are last year's results, and the blue ones are this year's results. And we, of course, asked about browsers you need to support next year. Last year we didn't ask about mobile browsers, but now we have asked about them as well. So iOS, Android, roughly 50%, both of them. How about the mobiles and tablets then? Who of you need to support tablets? Whoa, that's quite a lot. I would say, yeah, 50%. Ooh, 50%. So, seems like you actually, you didn't lie in this survey. Another thing we wanted to know about is how you actually create your app. That was sort of your audience and who you are as a demographic. But then we also wanted to know about how you go about creating your GWT applications. So how many of you use UI Binder? And how many do Java by hand? Yeah. Sounds about right. So roughly 50-50 in these two categories as well in the survey. You can see the people's comments there in the speech bubbles, what sort of thoughts those woke up for different members in the steering committee or other central figures in the GWT community as well. But have the entire report and look through it. You'll find it's quite interesting. Then, is there anybody here who doesn't do any testing at all? Two guys in the back row. Of course, in the back row. Nice. Anybody else do manual testing? Yeah, the lion's share do that. Then a hot debate at the moment is support for different Java versions. So this is something you might hear in the panel discussions in the afternoon as well. Everybody wants feature from Java 8. What should we do with the support for Java 6 and Java 7 at the same time? In order to make decisions on this, we wanted to know a bit more about what versions of Java you need to support in your development environment and in your deployment environment. Okay, two more things quickly. Of course, we want to know about the good sides of GWT, what you feel is the best sides in GWT, as probably everybody would have answered here as well. So productivity is number one, and then application speed is number two. But what would a report be without the dark side? So the dark side of GWT really seems to be compile time and dev mode refresh time, pretty much in the same category there. But we didn't end even there. In order for this survey to go on, you had a lot of good answers in the open-ended questions, so we put those together as a wish list. And what would a wish list around Christmas time be without we actually reacting to it? Or as this man would say, so the wish list. So in order to understand this, we took the wish list from last year and had a look at it. We did the same thing last year as well. And the top 5 features voted the most for last year were full HTML5 support. Okay, the community has done a lot for that. Vaadin, Sencha, for instance, web components coming up in GWT, advanced GUI components. Again, the community has done a lot for that. Faster compile time, that's something that with 2.6 and 3.0 are going to enhance on. Keep the community posted, the Stop Rumors was number 4 on the voted list. I mean, having a conference together, I think that's pretty awesome, and keeping the community posted. And then mobile, and you've heard a lot of talks yesterday, and there's more talks today about mobile as well. So this was last year's wish list. So this year's wish list, I would hope that all of you could go to this URL, vaadin.com/GWT/report2013/wishlist. You can go there and flag thumb up or thumb down the different features that are there. And the page actually looks like this. So when you get there, you'll know that you can thumb up and down there. Okay, that's pretty much all. You can get your report not only from the conference here in physical form, but from this URL. Try to share it in any way possible, from door to door or Twitter or wherever you want to share it. At the end, you are the community. Please share this knowledge about GWT so that other people hear and know about GWT and where GWT is today as well. So, all right, don't remember to get this one after the keynote. Thank you.
Thank you, Radu. So who thinks that this kind of report adds value to the community? Should we do this next year as well? Wow. So next up will be Red Hat, so please welcome Erik Jan de Wit.
Hi. Let me just get this. So I'm Eric. I'm a committer on the Arbe framework. So at Red Hat we built a rich application framework. It started about 3 years ago as a simple library between to enable J2EE, and it's now a big rich application development framework with a declarative programming model. So it supports, so basically it's GWT with J2EE, that's Arbe. So it enables you to use APIs in the browser, like JPA and CDI and data sync. So it's a programming model you're familiar with, and you can use it in your browser, so on top of GWT. So it enables you to reuse things, and obviously we also have other sorry. So we also support HTML5 with templating, and we have page navigation. So things that are kind of missing from GWT as a standard, we add to GWT. So we have data binding and mobile support. And for mobile support, I would like to show you a little demo. So let me photo booth. So I have this, where does it go? So I have this application installed on the cloud on OpenShift, Red Hat's open source cloud project, and it runs here on my device. It's a normal GWT application. It also runs on my device. All the HTML and JavaScript are inside this application, so I can start it up. Maybe I do something else. Maybe I also show it here. Wait. So I'll show it here as well. GWT.create. And then I have to have the internet connected, obviously. So let me show you it here as well. So this is the application that I was talking about. Come on, demo, gods. And it's a complaint form. Let me just put that there. Too many windows. And it has a list of complaints, so I can add one here on my mobile as well as on my desktop, because it's the same application and they communicate with each other with a cool protocol. So here's the application. I started it up. So let's go to the home screen. Let's complain about internet at conferences. So first I have to enter my name. So this is an HTML template. So I can build this UI using HTML. And let me, email address, complaint, internet. And then I also, because it's running on this device, I can also use the hardware. So I could take a picture of all of you. Let me do that. Let me get rid of the keyboard here. Go away keyboard, take picture. Take a picture of all of you. Right, use that. It's here now, look. And let me submit it. And it will hopefully end up
at the same time on this. So it will go to the server. It will register. It's a CDI event will get fired, and then with data binding, the row will appear here. If there wasn't a network issue or something like that, then it will work. I'll blame it on the internet. It worked on my laptop. So, oh yeah? Oh no! There it is. Good. So I'll be talking about Arbe later on, 11:15. I'll be showing this demo off and a little bit more. I'll do some live coding. So if you're interested, come see my talk. Good. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. So next up will be Sensa. Please welcome Colin Alworth from Sensa.
Hello. There we go. Is it on now? Yeah, okay. I can hear myself loudly. Thank you, everybody. And thanks for coming to GWT.create. We've had a great time. I hope everyone else has been enjoying it here, too. I'm going to talk for a moment to hopefully get the display working correctly. It was mirrored a minute ago. Yeah. It's too bad it doesn't remember from time to time when you plug in. Yeah. All right. I'm good. Just need to be able to see what I'm clicking on. Okay, I think we got all the pieces set up and going. All right. My name is Colin Alworth. I work with Sensa on the GXT project. And rather than describing in too much depth exactly what it is we work on, I'm going to show a quick demo of a couple of things we've got. So most of the people who are working here already use GWT in some capacity. Most of us are using widgets in some way. And the main thing we try to solve with GXT, main thing I was looking for as a customer and now when I'm working with Sensa and building GXT, is a comprehensive set of widgets that solve the main sorts of business problems I'm after. And so for the most part in GXT, we've got fields, forms, ways of displaying lots of data. We've got a variety of different forms and ways to display error messages. These error messages, of course, can be set up locally to say, make sure when the user types something they get it right. Or you can say, wait until the server validates something, pass it back to the client then correctly. We're also big on our data widgets. We like to think we've got a pretty good handle on how these data widgets should go together. Everything in GXT is based off, or all the data widgets are based off of the same data concept. We've got stores that hold data and things that bind to those stores and display the data. And so if you've got either a bar chart displaying a set of items or a grid displaying the same set of items, you can say, display the items, get the same basic details about what the name is, some value about it, how to put it together. And so these two views are displayed, are attached to the same store. We do a little bit of wiring to say, make their two selection models hook up correctly. So when I highlight on one, it automatically highlights on the other. This is just a handful of lines of code to make this particular piece work. And then the next piece, of course, is to say, okay, now that I've got an item selected, let's actually bind it to a form. Let's look at the data in the form. Let's allow the user to interact with it. And then enable you to build your own workflow. So whether you're backed by Arbe with various JPA pieces, or whether you're just calling an RPC service to say, here's the data changes, please send it to the server. It's up to you how you construct that. Our main goal is to fix the issues of how do we make things display consistently? How do we make sure you've got the tools you need in order to draw things on the screen? And then for our next version, we're trying to make it a little easier for you to take what we've got here and say, I won't need to make it look differently. I've got a particular set of colors and themes handed to me from my marketing team or from my product management team. They've got a set of colors, set of ideas that they want, and they want to see that in everything we do. So we've got a generated theme that I demonstrated yesterday at one of the sessions, trying to say, how exactly can we set up all these colors? How can we describe all these borders? How can we get them to be generated? So here we see one of our grids put together. We've got different icons. We've got different styles. This is yet incomplete. There should be a few more things that are being customized here. We'll be releasing this as part of GWT.create in the next month or so completely. And here's the same widget we saw before. The only change that's been made is the style. Added one config file saying here's what the theme looks like and applied it here. And let's switch back to the other screen. Okay. So what's coming in GWT.3.1? I touched on this very briefly. We're planning on this for the first quarter of the next year. We'll have a beta out shortly. Sometime after GWT 2.6 comes out, we'll be ready to release. The theme builder is the main thing. How do we put together a way to automatically restyle all the widgets using the appearance pattern in GXT? We'll have a configuration that allows you to say exactly what pieces do you want. You can either change just a handful of properties at the top, and that will modify the whole file, or you can go and pick individual fonts for every single panel, make sure that things are displayed exactly the way you're expecting. And then we're looking further ahead. We're looking to see what's going to happen in GWT 3.0 this next summer, and we're trying to figure out, okay, once that comes out, what can we build on top of that? We'll be working all the time off of Trunk to make sure that we're adding new functionality that fits well with it. So by summer's end 2014, it's our intention to release GXT4 based on GWT 3. And the first thing we're looking to add is building off of this theming system, being able to say exactly what do we want things to look like. We're going to start adding touch support. So with the theming, you can already make things larger. You can make it easier to touch things. And we're saying we need to be able to go through and support gestures and events. And we will do the event building. We'll do all the bookkeeping to figure out what is the user doing at this moment. How exactly are they hammering on the screen to make things happen? And then we'll worry about scrolling, too. When you're scrolling on a mobile device, all the JavaScript stops. The browser takes control and says, I need to display everything correctly. We're going to implement momentum scrolling in JavaScript as we've seen in a number of other mobile frameworks. So that way, as you scroll, the screen animates and all your other code continues to run as you expect it to. And then, of course, we'll have a couple of tablet themes, so your application can look like iOS on iOS devices, look like Android on Android devices. Or you can still, of course, use your own themes that have your own specific colors, your own specific styles of doing things. Our charts package that we're already pretty proud of, we think we're going to be a lot happier with next summer as we start bringing it to touch. Performance is a major issue. We'll want to make sure we can display all the data points quickly and easily on lower power devices. And then adding touch support to these things. That way, if you've got a scatter chart, you can zoom in very quickly, very naturally. You can pan along the data very easily just by touching the screen. Something that we've had in the past and we dropped as part of a change in how GWT was working internally was ARIA support. How do we make it easy for screen readers to analyze your application and easily come back with something it can read out loud? We'll be adding ARIA support in 508 compliance back to GXT in 4.0 using the new set of ARIA packages in GWT itself. And then along with the right-to-left support already present in GWT, we'll be implementing that in GXT. So in addition to getting the CSS automatically rewritten to flip from one locale to another, we'll also be going through and modifying all the places where we make assumptions about when I have a list of columns, the first column gets drawn on one side, and we work our way over. We'll be inverting that. That way, in a right-to-left situation, we can work from one side to the other. To learn more, I'll be doing a session, I believe in room 1, which I think is this side, right after this keynote. And then we'll also be doing a small workshop afterward for people who would like to get their hands dirty and quickly start using GXT. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Colin. It looks awesome. So the next up will be Christian Codro from Arbe. Please welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christian Goudreau, co-founder of Arbe, and also the president of this marvelous business. We're doing, we're building web application for mobile and desktop. We also build web developer tools to help developer being more efficient in their work. So in the past few weeks, we rolled out new version of all our products, and we also developed a new Eclipse IntelliJ plugin to help those who were using our products build their projects, as well as build all the boilerplate that is needed for their projects. So we rolled out GWT 1.1 that is introduced a new REST dispatcher into the framework. I don't know if you're already familiar with the GWT framework. It's an MVP framework, mostly based on Ray Ryan 2009 talk. At the time, we had a lot of difficulties to find a good products to base our own business application, and we decided, me and Philip would want to build our own, which was greatly influenced by the GWT presenter framework in themselves. We also built a command pattern not REST dispatcher, but command pattern dispatcher based on RPC. Since 2 years, we're not using RPC anymore. We're mostly using REST services. So that's why we rolled out our own implementation of the REST dispatcher. So in GWT 1.1, the REST dispatcher is still an experimental feature. We want to roll out all the JAX-RS feature into the interface themselves. So for now, as you can see, the only thing missing that we need to remove from the interface itself is the extents of REST service, as well as REST action themselves. For now, we encapsulate those calls because we're encapsulating the REST dispatch into a command pattern-like library. So this lets you do features like undo, redo, sequencing, batching, and catching really easy. But we want to go a step further and make sure that it's fully compliant with JAX-RS so that you can use on your server the same interface that you're using on your JAX-RS interface on the server side. Now, so to help you build new project a lot more faster into GWT, we introduced a new GWT Eclipse and an IntelliJ plugin. It's built by Brendan and Nelson. He's also working with Sencha, by the way. So we have a lot of archetype that you can create your own your project from. And this include not only GWT archetypes to build your project, but also pure GWT archetypes and GWT and GXT archetype, as well as GXT and GWT alone archetypes. So let's take a look in IntelliJ. How does that look like? Everything is on a remote repository. So when we want to add archetypes, as well as when we want to modify the code template themselves, they will get automatically updated into your project as well. Oh, didn't choose any archetype. So let's take the GXT one. So this is creating the full Maven architecture as well, with all the basic component being initialized for you. If I were to run this application, so aside of that, we included also changing it in a new window. We also included templates for when you create presenters, when you create views. And then you go to the GXT guide. All right. So we can also create presenter right from the menu as well. Choose name tokens to be bound to your presenter. And it creates everything that you need. Okay, seems like messed up the package, but anyway, so you get the point. So this is in IntelliJ. You have the same thing in Eclipse as well. We'll be rolling out more and more feature into the project itself so that you have as much boilerplate generation as possible through the plugin themselves. I invite you to test it and to add issues on whatever you need to be added into the project itself. And that being said, let's go to the next project, which is GAA Studio. GAA Studio is an admin console for Google App Engine. It's a profiler for Google App Engine. One of the most problematic thing that you will be doing while you're using Google App Engine is actually trying to modify your data into your data store, adding data, deleting it. And it's not because there's nothing available. There's just something. And that something isn't enough. I don't know if you ever used the Google App Engine console, even locally or even remotely, but they didn't put a lot of effort into making this really useful. So for our own usage, we create our own admin console for Google App Engine, which is in active development right now. It's a closed beta. You have to register if you want to get in. And I have a cold start from Google App Engine. Log in. Okay. So, like I said, it's an active beta, so you have your admin viewer, your console viewer like this. If I go to users, for example, you can click on data. I don't have a lot of space into that screen. You have all your column. You can edit that data. So you have a form. And right now we're actively modifying all the layout itself, the user experience and how it's working, because at first it was done for our own need and we didn't really care. You have the profiler. And what it will look like in the future is more like this. That's a glimpse of the future of the product. So I invite you to go to the beta. And again, at this website, try to register. And thank you.
Thank you, Christian. So next up will be Vaadin. Please welcome Artur Signal from our R&D team.
Okay, so can I get the adapter back? Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is, as said, Artur Signal. I'm leading the R&D at Vaadin. How many of you are actually using Vaadin? A couple of guys, not very many, 10% maybe. So let's have a look at what has been happening in Vaadin lately and what we're working on right now. So to get started, I actually don't have a presentation. I'll just show some live coding instead. So I made this small chat application in Vaadin. It's really a pretty simple application, around 100 lines of code. And here I have it running now in 2 browser windows. So basically the application, it's one text field down here where you can write some message like hello, and then we have a chat log up here where you can see the messages everybody is writing. Pretty simple. The only problem with this application, it doesn't work properly, because as you can see, the message doesn't appear here in this other window. So it's a really good example application. Actually, I did make a nice hack to make this work. I added this refresh button here, because the problem here is that we're using AJAX requests from the client. So all the communication has to be initiated by the client or the browser. And when I write in one window, there's really nothing happening in this other window. So I added a nice refresh button. So now I can sit and click on the refresh button, and then I get the message. Then I can answer hi. And at some point in the future, this other user will then click the refresh button. It's a really nice chat, right? So how would we want this to work? Well, there are 2 ways basically of making this work. One is automating the clicking of the refresh button. So instead of having the user click the refresh button, we make the browser click the refresh button. That's called polling the server. Another approach, which is, in this case at least, much better, because with polling you have to define an interval and think about when will the users write chat messages, and it's not very clear. So Vaadin 7.1 actually introduced server push as a built-in feature. And how we would enable this for this application, it's simply by adding a push annotation to the main UI. And so if I go back to my chat now and refresh it, and I write hello, it will automatically appear in the other browser as well. Because now we're no longer using AJAX request or XML HTTP request. Instead, we're using a WebSockets connection to the server for all the communications. So instead of every message being left on the server with no way to getting to the client, it's now sent directly back to the client. So now it's actually a working chat. So we can chat for a while. Okay, it gets a bit boring. You could join me, of course, if you have my IP, but I don't think you can find that out. Right, so let's move over to something else. This is something we have today, but let's now look at what we're doing, what we're working on at the moment. So the new grid we're working on looks pretty empty. Yeah, actually, I didn't make the demo. That's right. So this is just an empty Vaadin application. It's not a grid demo. So let's make a grid demo right now. I actually want to show a list of persons, very typical use case. It's always persons. So these persons could come from a database, but in this case, I'll just have my nice generator to generate some random persons. So we need a list of persons, then we need a grid to display these persons. And then we need to add the grid to the main layout of this application. Okay, so the grid, like the old Vaadin table, it's based on a data source. So the data source is what provides data to the grid. In this case, we can use a bean item container, which basically uses a list of beans and provides it as data to the grid. So let's just create a new bean item container for persons, and then we can just add all the persons to this container. So now we have 5 lines of code, and if I go back, I have my grid demo actually ready. So what you see here is the grid we're currently working on. It has built-in lazy loading, so actually I don't have to care about this lazy loading at all. It's lazy loading right now from my server. It's pretty fast. It's on localhost. Actually, it's pretty fast otherwise also. what we have been working or focusing on here is getting the performance to be good here in this grid. So when I scroll around, it's really smooth to scroll. It's also smooth on iPhone, iPad, and so on. And one thing we're doing to make this possible is that we have on the screen only the number of row elements, or the number of rows we see on the screen. It corresponds to the number of row elements we have in the DOM, so we don't have any extra DOM elements. And we can actually see if I select a cell here that we're reusing the cell elements. So when I scroll down, whenever the cell goes up above the grid, we re-add it or move it actually down below the grid and reuse it and just update the content. So this makes the grid pretty nice and smooth. Actually, okay, I'm not completely satisfied with my demo application because this address field here, it's actually an address bean inside my person bean, and it's just displayed here as the toString value, so I don't know where Nana lives actually. So let's just go and fix this. So we can expand this address property within our container, and then we'll instead have the expanded properties here at the end of the table. The problem now, of course, is that when I'm looking at the address, I can't see the person, so I don't know who the address belongs to. So let's just go and make one more change to this. So let's say that everything up to the first name property should actually be frozen. So we will have the first columns frozen here automatically while still having all the nice lazy loading and other features available. So this is still development in progress. We're missing a couple of features here that we really would like to have, like support for variable row heights, hierarchy, and other a bit smaller things. What we do have today is support for renderers, which you can use to this. They are kind of the ones that actually update the cell content in the grid. So you can use these to render something else than text in the grid, or render some lightweight input elements, something like this in the grid. Of course, you can also abuse the renderers and do, for instance, a plasma grid, which can be animated and has then a lazy DOM and reuses DOM element. This is something everybody needs. Okay, so let's move on to the third thing and final thing. We're making a new theme for Vaadin 7.2 also. It doesn't really have a name yet, so I can't say that, but this is what it looks like at the moment. It's okay, the version we see here, it's pretty gray, maybe a bit boring. But what's nice about the theme is I can actually, if we go here, we can see this theme is actually implemented using Sass. And it defines a lot of variables that you can use to customize the theme. So we have font family, font size, and a lot of other stuff. Also, if I, for instance, want my theme to be a bit more blue, I can just go and change this, what's here's called the background color now, and go back to the browser. Sorry, waiting for compiling. Oh, done. And now we have a blue theme. And we can see it actually didn't only change the background color, it also changed like the colors used in every component, pop-ups, highlighting colors, and so on. So, of course, if I'm not satisfied with the highlighting color it selected, this light blue, we can once again go back and change the primary color to green, for instance, refresh the browser, recompile the theme, and we'll now have the green primary color instead used in all the places. So there are a lot of different parameters you could use here to really easily customize this theme. If we want it use some embossing, make it a little bit more 3D, a little bit of different color scheme. We just change some parameters and we have rounded corners and so on. Or if we want to go the modern flat style, just remove that and have a flat theme instead with a bit different colors. Okay, this was pretty much what I had to show you about Vaadin. If you're interested in Vaadin, there's an introductory Vaadin talk in this room, I guess, at 10 o'clock. There's also, I have a talk about client-server hybrid applications, so how you can basically combine Vaadin and GWT in one application. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. You also forgot to mention that this grid component is available for GUI developers as well, so it's not just server-side Vaadin component and it's Apache license, so take a look at that later on when we release it. So next up will be Sami, who will be going through the agenda.
Yes, is this working? Hello? You hear me? Okay. Yes, welcome to the second day of GWT.create. I hope you already enjoyed the keynotes here, so I think they give you an idea what's coming up today. So if yesterday was more about the GWT itself, today is more about the community, more about the frameworks and tools on top of GWT itself. So before the break, I just introduced the agenda for today, so let's take a look. So we will split the rooms here the same way yesterday. So we will have room number 2 on this side and room number 2 on room number 1 on this side. So another room on 2. So you see the agenda there. So after that, we have a couple of framework introductions. So you saw there Vaadin and GXT already, so you know what's coming up there. In room number 1, there is GXT by Colin. And Jonas is giving an introduction on room number 2 on Vaadin. After 11 o'clock, there will be Eric's presentation on Red Hat Arbe framework on room number 1. And Joni is jumping into CSS awesomeness on room number 2. Yeah, so after that we have a 1-hour lunch break. And we continue on room number 1. We have Rockets giving an or showcase how they use GWT actually in real life, what they have made with it, and apparently a good business out of it. On room number 2, Arthur continues on the same topic with Vaadin, give more about the hybrid approach on applications like client and server applications. Then we have Arnold on after 2 p.m. Explaining a little bit how to create offline applications better with GWT. So it's possible, of course, out of the box, but there are tips and tricks you want to know. So if you're interested in that one, that's a good presentation. On the other hand, there is a very good presentation on the other room going on about Vaadin TouchKit. So I will be talking about Vaadin TouchKit there, which is the mobile widget application framework on top of Vaadin. And we have a last break there at 3. And after that, Michael continues on room number 1. We have accessible web application presentation, which is not only about the accessibility, but also about the usability in overall, so how you make good applications there. And in the other room, the Call ID presentation. So this is very cool online IDE which is built with GWT technology there. So these are the 2 tracks we have today. So if these are not okay for you, if you want to something more deeper, we have good workshops going on along the way. So they're in rooms 3 and 4 on the down to the corridor. So if you want to become a Git committer, so if you want to really contribute to the Git project itself, Michael is giving their workshop on that. And I guess that there was something going on in the other room also. Yeah, so the GXT intro continues there on the other rooms after 11, I guess. Yeah. All right, and after the lunch in the afternoon, we have 2 workshops on Vaadin. So there is Joni's theming workshop. You saw there a little bit about how SAS works. So this is more about SAS and responsive layouts on Vaadin. And if you don't know Vaadin, want to learn about Vaadin, there is Kim's workshop on how to actually build something, build a real application with Vaadin. Right, and I think the most important part is still there in the end. So we have the steering committee panel there. So this is your place to affect on Git. So if you have questions, if you have worries, if you have suggestions, this is your place to present those. So we are using the Google moderator there. Cheers. And you can find it in the short link. I think Jonas showed this already earlier. So bit.ly/GWT panel. Submit your suggestion there. So what should be the topics that is discussed there? I bet you have some. Don't miss this opportunity. All right. This is the day we are going to have. I think it will be an awesome day like yesterday. So enjoy that and welcome to second day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sami. So it's going to be an awesome day. And Daniel, you still want to say something about panel? Are you totally sure about it? You are still smiling.
Yeah.
So let's take a trial. I haven't been actually asking you to do this, but what do you think? Should we be supporting IE8?
So let me quickly say something about the panel.
Oh, stop. That's done. That's done. So how about Colin? Should we be supporting IE8? No, just kidding. We're going to be discussing this about in panel, and I hope there are many, many other controversial topics like what's going to be happening with the dev mode, and is super dev mode cool enough that it can replace dev mode and so forth.
Yeah, so with lots of the session, we actually try to provide value to you, trying to show you what we're doing. But we can only do stuff that's relevant to you if you actually know what you guys want. And the panel is a good way to actually get a good grasp of this. So we're good plugged into Git user, Git contributors, but especially the panel and discussing things and actually getting a good grasp of what you guys need helps us a lot. So if we challenge you on IE8, there's a good reasoning behind this, and we can actually discuss this later on the panel.
IE8 is awesome.
Yes, it is. If you're living in 2000, that might be awesome.
You really want to support IE8?
So this is not to scare you. This is just we as a community have to think about where we want to go, and the panel is one of the most important things to actually get feedback to us. And I think it was, to me, it was the valuable session we could actually have in San Francisco. So please, even if it's the last thing in the day, please come to this and help us making Git better. Thanks.
Thanks.